And what if I told you that the serpent in Genesis isn't really a serpent, and that everything you thought you knew about the story of Adam and Eve needs to be deeply reevaluated? Get ready, because the truth is even more fascinating than you can imagine. The narrative of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden is one of the most well-known stories in the Bible. At the center of this narrative is the cunning serpent that tempts Eve to eat the forbidden fruit, leading to the fall of humanity. Traditionally, this serpent has been seen as a literal creature, a symbol of deception and temptation. However, what if we've been interpreting this character wrong all along? In this video, we will delve into the original Hebrew text of the book of Genesis and uncover a hidden truth that challenges our conventional understanding. Additionally, we will explore various interpretations from different beliefs and ancient perspectives about this creature in the Bible's first book. By the end, you'll view the story from a new perspective, with ideas that have profound implications for how we interpret this ancient text. The serpent in Genesis may not have been just a serpent. The book of Genesis, the first book of the Bible, is fundamental to both Judaism and Christianity. Traditionally attributed to Moses, it contains stories that have shaped religious thought for millennia. The story of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden is especially significant, as it addresses themes of temptation, innocence, and human nature. Understanding the true identity of the characters in this story is crucial for a deeper interpretation of its message. To understand the true essence of the serpent, we need to return to the original Hebrew text of Genesis. In Genesis 3:1, the serpent is introduced with the Hebrew word nahash. This word is often translated as serpent in many versions of the Bible, but Hebrew is a complex language, and nahash has several meanings beyond a simple literal translation. In fact, nahash can refer to both a serpent and a diviner, or someone with esoteric knowledge. This dual meaning opens the door to a different interpretation of the serpent's identity. Rather than just a simple creature, nahash could point to a being with knowledge or supernatural powers. Scholars have debated the true nature of the serpent for centuries. Some argue that nahash should be understood metaphorically, representing a force of chaos, or even a rebellious divine being. Others suggest that the serpent was not literally a snake, but a symbolic figure, possibly a fallen angel, or a manifestation of Satan. One notable interpretation proposes that the serpent represents a divine rebel, similar to Prometheus in Greek mythology, who defies the established order and brings knowledge to humanity. This perspective presents the serpent not just as a tempter, but also as a complex figure who plays a dual role as both a tempter and an enlightener. Let's explore some alternative identities of the serpent based on this broader understanding of nahash. Some scholars have suggested that the serpent was a divine being, possibly a minor god, or a semi-divine entity. This interpretation aligns with ancient Near Eastern mythology, where serpents were often associated with wisdom and immortality. In various cultures, serpents were seen as powerful, wise, and even benevolent creatures. For example, in Mesopotamian mythology, the god Nanazu, associated with vegetation and the underworld, was often depicted as a serpent, or with serpentine features. Similarly, in Egyptian mythology, the cobra symbolized the goddess Wadjet, who represented protection and royal authority. These cultural contexts suggest that serpents were not merely symbols of deception, but were also revered for their wisdom and power. By considering the serpent in Genesis as a divine being, we can see it as a figure possessing deep knowledge and a special relationship with the divine. This interpretation suggests that the serpent's temptation of Eve was not simply an act of deception, but a complex interaction involving divine knowledge and human free will. In many ancient cultures, the serpent symbolized both chaos and disorder. In Genesis, the serpent may represent disruptive forces that challenge divine order and test human obedience. This view is reinforced by the serpent's role in guiding Adam and Eve to disobey God, introducing chaos into what was previously a harmonious existence in the Garden of Eden. Ancient myths often depict serpents as embodiments of primordial chaos. For example, in Babylonian mythology, the chaos monster Tiamat, often described as a serpent or dragon, symbolizes the chaotic forces that the god Marduk must defeat to create the world. Similarly, in Norse mythology, the Midgard serpent, also known as Jormungandr, is a giant sea serpent that threatens world order. Applying this symbolic structure to the Genesis narrative, the serpent can be seen as an agent of chaos that tests the limits of human obedience and divine order. This interpretation highlights the struggle between order and disorder, a recurring theme in many creation myths. The serpent's actions in Genesis can be understood as part of a larger cosmic conflict, emphasizing the inherent tension between stability and chaos in human experience. Another interpretation is that the serpent is a metaphorical figure embodying the internal conflict between obedience to God and the pursuit of forbidden knowledge. This perspective emphasizes the moral and philosophical dimensions of the story, suggesting that the serpent represents humanity's inclination to seek knowledge and challenge divine limits. From this perspective, the serpent symbolizes human curiosity and the desire for self-determination. The act of eating the forbidden fruit is not merely an act of disobedience, but a profound statement about human nature and the quest for understanding. Thus, the serpent becomes a representation of the internal struggle we face when choosing between adhering to established rules or exploring the unknown. This metaphorical interpretation aligns with various philosophical and literary traditions that explore the theme of forbidden knowledge. For example, in John Milton's Paradise Lost, Satan, in the form of a serpent, tempts Eve by appealing to her desire for wisdom and autonomy. Similarly, the story of Prometheus in Greek mythology, who defies the gods to bring fire and knowledge to humanity, echoes themes of defiance and enlightenment. Understanding the serpent as more than just a literal creature transforms our interpretation of the Genesis story. Whether viewed as a divine rebel or a symbol of chaos, the serpent represents a deep, ongoing struggle within human experience. The narrative thus gains richer and more complex meaning, becoming a story of divine human interaction, a quest for knowledge, and a confrontation between order and chaos. With this new perspective, we revisit the story of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. Rather than seeing the serpent merely as a deceiver, we can consider it a catalyst in humanity's journey toward knowledge and self-awareness. The act of eating the forbidden fruit represents a crucial moment in human history, a transition from innocence to understanding, from blind obedience to conscious choice. This reinterpretation has profound theological implications that challenge the traditional view of the serpent as purely evil, inviting us to consider a more nuanced character. It also raises questions about the nature of temptation and the role of divine beings in human affairs. Was the serpent's temptation a necessary part of God's plan for human development? Was the pursuit of knowledge an inevitable and essential step in our evolution? For modern readers and believers, this new understanding of the serpent can enrich their faith and deepen their appreciation of biblical texts. It encourages us to approach the Bible with an open mind, recognizing the complexity and depth of its stories. This analysis highlights the importance of studying the original languages and cultural contexts to fully grasp the profound meanings in these ancient texts. In Genesis 3:1, the serpent is introduced. Now the serpent was more cunning than any of the wild animals the Lord God had made. The serpent addresses the woman, asking, "Did God really say, 'You must not eat from any tree in the garden'?" In this verse, the Hebrew term arum for cunning implies intelligence and sagacity. If we consider nahash as a divine or semi-divine being, this intelligence could indicate a deeper understanding of divine matters, positioning the serpent as a knowledgeable figure rather than a mere deceiver. If this video has inspired you, leave us a comment on what impacted you the most. Make sure to like the video and subscribe to our channel for more content that builds your faith. Thank you for joining us today, and may God bless you.